we got another Canadian in the MCU besides Ryan Reynolds. Beautiful. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mr. T's Film Preach, and if you're a lover of films like I am, and you learn from films as much as I do, then you are in the right place. Click like down below and subscribe to my channel. That would be wonderful, and I would really appreciate your feedback on what you thought of Shang-Chi, the new Marvel Cinematic Universe film, and I can't wait to talk about it and hear your thoughts as well. Today we are talking about the second film in Phase 4 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Written and directed by Destin Cretton, who is a indie director that got pulled into the Marvel world. It stars Canadian actor Simu Liu from Kim's Convenience. Represent Canada, yo! Canada. This movie is about Shang-Chi, who is this young man, and his past catches up with him. He has to go into this adventure to stop this terrorist organization that we know as the Ten Rings from destroying the world. And within that organization, the leader is known as the Mandarin, who we finally get for real. It's not just Travis anymore. It's not just Sir Ben Kingsley.
Hey, it's complicated,
It
right?
is.
It's complicated.
But it's about Shang-Chi's father and his complicated relationship with this not so great guy who is very complicated.
It's complicated.
And it makes Shang-Chi maybe not such a great guy either, but he's trying to get over that, over his past mistakes, and become the hero that we know. And I have to say, this is one of the best. I would still say it's maybe not quite in my top 5, but it is an excellent Marvel Cinematic Universe film. It is a great original origin story. It's not just a carbon copy of Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
But this was a really cool concept, an interesting family dynamic, mixed in with some Chinese folklore, also kung fu martial arts film. And I just love the combination of all those, mixing them into one. Destin Cretton, who directed some indie films like Short Term 12, was an interesting choice to tap to direct this film, but I'm glad that they did, because specifically the in-depth emotional scenes between the characters really stand out. The father-son dynamic.
I am your father.
And complicated story that he tells in this Chinese family is so great. It was such a breath of fresh air into the MCU. My biggest qualm with Black Widow was that it took place like 5 or 6 years ago. It felt like when Phase 4 started, I really wanted to move forward. I wanted to see something new. I wanted to be in the present day. It was great to have a fresh new character finally. And it's a great representation for Asian culture. The action is incredible. Some of the best fight scenes, some of the best choreography. That also includes like The Winter Soldier. This is a kung fu movie. There's a lot of styles that Destin Cretton chose to sort of pay homage to and bring into his mix. The beginning scene between the Mandarin and his wife is a beautiful artwork style of fighting that kind of resembles House of Flying Daggers, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where there's some wire work. Just some gorgeous shots, and then there's the leaves that float all throughout the air, and the powers that she has and he has with the 10 rings. The amazing bus sequence in San Francisco, that kind of quick kung fu style. It really resembles like Jackie Chan from Rumble in the Bronx and Drunken Master. Also a little bit mix of Kung Fu Hustle, which I'm a big fan of, and obviously Creighton was a big fan of that. There's a little bit of Hero. When there's that incredible fight scene on the side of the building with all the bamboos, it was almost like a mix of Rush Hour with like old school 70s Hong Kong kung fu movies. And then towards the end, they go into more CGI heavy Chinese folklore. So this film has all these different styles of fighting and action, which I thought was an awesome blend. It's got a great character in Shang-Chi. It's got a great best friend in Awkwafina. Legend coming from Hong Kong kung fu movies is Tony Leung as the Mandarin, as the bad guy, the villain in this, and I think he's one of the best villains the MCU has produced. You feel for him, you understand him, you really get to see where he's coming from, his perspective. He reminded me so much of Michael B. Jordan's villain in Black Panther. Killmonger's there, but the Mandarin is like right next to it. There is a couple of hilarious cameos in this, and I won't spoil it, but you just have to stick it out, especially towards the second half of the film. Yes, it felt like it was a part of the larger MCU, but the original origin story of this was just so great. And I just appreciated that while it was a part of the MCU, it could stand alone for its own film. There was a few things here and there that I wasn't the biggest fan of. The tonal shift that happens kind of 2/3 of the way through the film when they actually get to Tai Lo. It's very beautiful. It's visually stunning. The CGI is really good, but it's reliant so much on that. The first half of this movie was this great sort of street level kung fu movie, like on the streets of San Francisco, nightclubs of Hong Kong. When we got to the fantasy world, it just felt like, whoa!
Whoa! And then we were like, whoa! And then you were like, whoa.
And it took like a 15-20 minutes to really get used to it. And then I fell back into the movie again. But just for like a certain amount of time, it took me out because the shift was so drastic. Some of the jokes don't land in this movie. Like some of them for sure do, and there are some funny moments. But there was almost like 10% too much attempts at making it funny when they should have played it straight. Big visual spectacle, especially the last battle at the end of the film, just sort of fell a little flat and kind of continued in the same territory that the MCU is so used to doing, which is like heavy CGI overload for the last final battle of the film. So I was hoping that this movie would kind of break that mold. Stay for the 2 post-credit scenes. There's one mid-credits and one at the very, very end. But overall, this is a hilarious movie. It is a fun ride.
We make a good team.
It is a great paying tribute to kung fu movies, action films, Chinese cinema, and while also introducing us to a new MCU hero. I can't wait to see what they do next and how they're going to incorporate him into the rest of the MCU. You guys should definitely go check it out. I highly recommend it. It's one of the best times I've had in the theaters this entire year. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings an A-. Yes. What did you guys think of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? I would love to know your thoughts and comments down below. And while you're down there, click like and subscribe to my channel. I would so appreciate it. Mwah. Thank you so much for joining us today on Mr. Teach Film Preach. If you want to come back and check out some more reviews, I have my 2021 playlist of all the movies I've reviewed so far. Also, just did M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Also, another Marvel Cinematic Universe that came out recently, Black Widow. Have a great day, everyone. Stay focused, stay awesome, and as always, let's get taught.